Welcome back. Now that President Trump's signature domestic policy legislation has been signed into law, both parties are racing to define it, with Democrats honing in on the massive cuts to Medicaid while Republicans tout the tax cut provisions. As Republicans gear up to sell their big, beautiful bill, yesterday House Speaker Mike Johnson told my colleague Sahil Kapoor that he's not worried about the potential political impacts in the midterms. Take a listen.
We're going to pick up seats. We're going to flip Democrat seats, and we'll teach them once again they shouldn't underestimate us.
No concerns it'll cost you any seats?
No concerns at all. In fact, it's going to gain seats for us. We're that confident.
Well, Johnson is striking an optimistic tone. My colleague Julie Tsirkin traveled to Missouri, where Senator Josh Hawley, who opposed the Medicaid cuts but ultimately voted for the bill, held an event touting key provisions in the mega bill. She pressed him about his concerns about the 2026 implications.
We've seen healthcare, though, hurt both parties in the past. 2014, it hurt Democrats. 2018, it hurt Republicans. Do you think this will hurt Republicans in 2026?
Well, I think that if Republicans don't come out strong and say we're going to protect rural hospitals, then, yeah, I think voters aren't going to like that.
Joining me now is NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Tsirkin and NBC News national political correspondent Steve Kornacki. So, Julie, let's talk more about your trip to Missouri. I mean, what did you hear from Senator Hawley, and how is he defending this bill, especially seeing that he voted for it?
Well, I didn't hear a single mention, Ryan, of Medicaid, of the tax cuts even, of the immigration provisions, of provisions that Republicans who voted for this bill like during his press conference. Instead, he focused on about 2 pages of the 1,000-page bill, focused specifically on a bipartisan fund, an expansion of one that he secured as part of this bill. This specifically would go to help victims of radiation and nuclear waste. But he was asked during that press conference by some of our remarkable local colleagues, and as well when I pressed him afterwards about these cuts to Medicaid and what he's going to do to fix it, if anything. Take a listen to a little bit of our exchange after that press conference.
The provider cuts that are now not going to affect Missouri until the 2030s, my goal is to make sure those never take effect, I'll be honest with you.
How?
Well, by legislation. I mean, listen, they don't affect Missouri until 2030, and between now and then, Missouri gets $1 billion in increased rural hospital funds. That's great for our state. But the truth of the matter is we shouldn't be cutting rural hospitals. I'm completely opposed to cutting rural hospitals, period. I haven't changed my view on that one iota.
You hate, if I could say that, some pieces of this bill, but you voted for it. Why did you choose that strategy?
Got to take the wins that you can. For me, getting RECA passed, getting health care expanded in Missouri for these survivors. I almost said the word victim. I hate that word. For survivors, these heroes. This is a multi-year journey, and this was the chance to do it.
I mean, Ryan, you and I talk about this often. I'm just struck by this idea that Republicans who supported this bill are now openly saying that they are going to work for the next, in Josh Hawley's case, 5 years to try and undo key provisions of this bill, which, by the way, helped fund those tax cuts, which is also something that I asked Hawley about.
And we heard Speaker Johnson say that he isn't concerned about the 2026 implications. Senator Hawley sounded a little less optimistic. How do you think Republicans are going to navigate this? And this is going to be a major issue? I mean, we're only a little more than a year away from the 2026 midterms.
It's going to be a huge issue. And Leader Schumer, who's the top Democrat in the Senate, told me they are going to be in every single state, in every single battleground district, in every city, with these advocates, with people from these states that are going to hurt the most as a result of these provisions. I spent time in Missouri. I talked to providers at rural hospitals. I know you did, too, out in the country, Ryan. And it is very clear that even though, according to Josh Hawley, these aren't going to take effect fully until 2030 in Missouri, which, by the way, was a last-minute provision, a sweetener that he got tucked into this bill in exchange for his support. Even though that's the case, these states plan for years. There are people who apply to Medicaid, and it already takes, in some cases, 100 days for that application to be approved. This is going to slow that down. And a lot of these voters, Ryan, as you know, voted for President Trump and are Republicans.
Now, you also talked to Senator Hawley, and he mentioned this in the clip that you just played about this provision to expand the fund for victims of nuclear waste, even thanking former Congresswoman Cori Bush, who the two couldn't be on more further opposite sides of the political spectrum. Tell us more about this provision and why it's so important for Missouri in particular.
Well, Josh Hawley fought for years. He tried to get this and other must-pass pieces of legislation, and it wasn't just him. He worked across the aisle with senators and lawmakers in different states to try and get this fund reauthorized and expanded. This goes back to the Manhattan Project. The government had a multi-decade-long nuclear weapons program, and a lot of Americans suffered as a result of it, especially those in rural communities, more spread out, Native American and indigenous populations as well. That's why we saw the Navajo Nation leader there, and it's notable because you saw that Hawley embraced Cori Bush. I thought that was so interesting. But Hawley, after I asked him about it, said, look, we work with whoever we have to work with to get this stuff done. He clearly was only focusing on this provision in this 1,000-page bill. And that, to me, too, was an early test of how Republicans are going to pick and choose smaller pieces of this bill and avoid the much larger, more damaging provisions of this bill, Ryan.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.